and Park District, regular board meeting. It is Wednesday, the 18th of April. Welcome. So we will start with the pledge.
Yes, thank you, Chair Reyes. We would like to welcome to the podium Don Hall from the Rancho Cordova Chamber of Commerce to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I make some comments?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Council and Patrick and staff. I just wanted to say a few words of how grateful we are at the Chamber that we have a great working relationship with the Cordova Recreation and Park District. We've been working on leadership in a collaboration since 2014. So the last 3 years, we've had a module dedicated to recreation, which is great for our leadership program. And in the last 10 years, we've graduated 10 people from either, Brian Danzel was one, so we have either staff or council that have graduated. Michael Yearwood was another one. So thank you so much for the collaboration.
Thank you, Don. All right, so we are going to move on to the roll call.
Director Lineback,
Here.
Director Sloan.
Aye.
Secretary Danzel,
Here.
Vice Chair Yearwood,
Here.
and Chair Reyes.
Here. Thank you. We're going to move on to the next item, which is the board disclosures on any action items. Do we have any disclosures that board members would like to share with the board? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move forward to the comments.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Members of the public may address the board on district topics not listed on this agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. It is a violation of state law for the board to discuss or take action on non-agenda items. Board members may only briefly ask clarifying questions or refer the matter to staff. And I do not have any speaker cards.
Thank you. So with no speaker cards, we're going to go ahead and move on to the consent calendar.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Consent calendar items are considered administratively routine and will be acted upon in one motion unless separate action on a specific item is necessary. The chairperson will consider any requests for discussion on the items prior to approval of the consent calendar. This evening we have 2 items for your consideration. Item C1 is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on March 21st, 2018. Item C2 is the district financial report for February 2018.
All right. Do I have any need for discussion or clarification or questions to pull any one of our consent calendar items? Seeing none, then I would entertain a motion.
I move that the Board of Directors approve consent calendar items C1 and C2.
Moved by Director Lineback,
A second.
seconded by Director Danzel. Roll call.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan, Secretary Danzel,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood,
Aye.
and Chair Reyes.
Aye. Thank you. So now we are going to move on to presentations.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item D1 is the swearing in of Chairperson Inez L. Reyes to the California Association of Park and Recreation Commissioners and Board Members, Board of Directors. And I'd like to welcome to the podium Mr. Jim Simpson, who is the Executive Director.
Thank you. Now I will come down to you.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to do this here. Unfortunately, Inez was unable to make it to the CPRS conference in Long Beach, where our annual members meeting and board meeting was held that elected the new officers and directors. So I'd like to do the swearing in here and look forward to working with Inez.
Yes, very nice to meet you, Jim.
Thank you.
Very nice to meet you. I know we spoke on the phone.
Yes. So you have been chosen to be an officer and a member of the Board of Directors of the California Association of Park and Recreation Commissioners and board members. Your position requires dedication, leadership, creativity, and resourcefulness. It also requires that you actively communicate with your constituents, your colleagues, and the staff and leadership of the association. The purpose of the association is to set policy and fulfill the mission of the association, to bring state and regional issues to this board, and to address programmatic concerns of the association. Now, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that you will strive to the best of your ability to carry out the duties and responsibilities of a board member and director of the CAP-R-CBM, and that you will uphold the bylaws of the CAP-R-CBM, and that you will at all times endeavor to fulfill the highest personal and professional standards of which you are capable?
I do.
By the authority vested in me, I hereby declare you as officially installed. My congratulations, and I wish you success.
Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward
And you made it.
to joining you. Yes, we'll talk on the phone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very
Do a
much.
photo op with Melissa?
We will. Alyssa, come on over here. So we can move to do that. Thank you.
Do you photo porn?
Were you guys in the picture?
Like this.
We are the Park and Rec. Thank you again, Jim. It's nice to see you here, and I'm hoping that my participation at the board will be able to get all of us, my board, keep them aware. You know, there are lots of different agencies that work in parks and recs, and this is our first time to be able to join you. Thank you. All right, so now we are going to move to the second.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item D2 is a presentation of the grant check from the United States Tennis Association, and I'd like to welcome to the podium Recreation Superintendent Jill Nuns.
Good evening, Board of Directors.
Good evening.
I have exciting news tonight. We applied for a grant through the USTA and was granted $2,000 for the USTA's HITS program. So this is a new program that the USTA is putting on through Northern California. Tonight I have Teresa Watkins here from Northern California USTA, and then also Michael McPherson, who's the program coordinator over this HITS program. So exciting for us to get this grant. What this grant allows us to do is it allows us to buy the equipment for the program. It's $2,000. It helps us buy the tennis rackets, the balls, and the nets. So it's a portable system that we can bring anywhere throughout the district. So right now we do have a program at Heron Landing Park. We started this program at the beginning of April. We have 4 to 7-year-olds and then 8 to 10-year-olds. And I'm proud to say that Michael McPherson, who did a wonderful job with this program, it's a full program. It's got 24 kids in it, which is the max that we can take for this HITS program based on our numbers and our ratios. So I want to thank Michael for his hard work for this tennis program, getting it off the ground. So please give Michael a big hand. So the goal is we're going to start here at Heron Landing with this program, again with the help of the USTA, which we really appreciate. And then eventually we want to spread out throughout the district. But we're going to start at Heron Landing, grow the program. We have programs set for this spring, sold out, some in the summer and also in the fall. And as it grows and it becomes more popular, we'll branch out to the tennis courts again. And it doesn't even have to be a tennis courts. Like I said, it's portable nets. And I'm sorry, I'm stealing your thunder. But we can have this program throughout the district. So Teresa's going to tell us a little bit more about the HITS program. Super excited that we got this grant. So
Yes, good job. Good job.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Watkins. I'm with the United States Tennis Association. Just a little bit of background about our organization. We're a nonprofit organization. The NorCal section is one of 17 throughout the country. We promote programs from the grassroots all the way to, the professional level for those students and even juniors who want to, become professionals. Our mission right now, pretty much throughout the NorCal section, is to, just get more children playing tennis. A lot of times we, see children with basketball, soccer, all of the other sports, and they feel like they don't have that much access to tennis, or we're trying to, we're wanting to change the perception of it as well, because, people think that tennis is, expensive. You have to go to all these expensive racket clubs and everything like that. So with our HITS program, we're really, wanting to bring tennis to the children, which is why they don't need an actual tennis court to run the HITS program. So we had a training a few weeks ago, and I did the training on in the gym pretty much. So if it rains, there's always time to do the program inside. So yes, with the grant, as she explained, the grant is used for equipment. So they receive nets, balls, rackets, and whatever else they need. We have a partnership with Wilson, so that's where they get the equipment from. So as their tennis service representative, my hopes for this specific program for Cordova is that they expand with the amount of children, and that we can get the whole district involved and have more children playing tennis. I'm passionate about tennis. I've been playing for 22 years. Good. So of course I love the game, and I want to grow the sport. And then of course we want to expand, so hopefully getting some adult beginner programs as well. So I'm just thankful and looking forward to this partnership.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you want to take a picture over here?
You guys, are there any questions? You guys have any questions about the program? Awesome. Photo op time.
I have a question.
Oh,
Jill.
okay.
And I don't know if I caught it when you were explaining it, but this is a program. Is there any fees on the participants?
So, yeah, we did need to charge a fee
Yeah.
for this.
Okay. What is it?
It's low. It's, we're charging $40, and we give $10 back to the USTA from that. So it's $30 in the end for the program. But we also have facilitators out there that are teaching the kids how to play tennis. So there was the cost of that. So.
And how many weeks?
What is it?
It is, right now, on the books, we have, the program that's going right now is a 6-week program.
Okay.
And then the one in the summer, it's a 5-week program, but it's twice a week.
All right. Okay.
So it's
Great.
going to be a low-cost program, and as we work through it, we'll continue to keep those costs really low.
Totally.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
great.
Thank you.
And I have some brochures here too that, have some testimonials a little bit about our program that I will leave for you all. And then you all can receive a gift.
And hats, too. Visors and Jill don't work. Of course. Great job.
Here, we'll hold the check.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see what we do. Diddly do. All right.
Got everyone? Hold on, not long.
Right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I'm gonna try it with this, just to have it.
Back up.
Can I give you my phone?
Are you serious?
No.
Here we go, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Good job.
So but if there is an objection to it, the special districts can protest during the LAFCO if they don't agree with the terms of the agreement. So district staff has been to several meetings with the Sacramento City staff as well as council. And our conclusion is that we should proceed with allowing the agreement to get 5 years worth of revenue, because originally there was a structure on the all the 5 parcels that gave us a total of $145 a year. Since then, the structure had been removed. Now it's down to, I think it was $38 a year in tax revenue. So we're talking really pennies at that point. And we currently don't provide any park or rec services to that, specifically to that area. So So we're proposing that we will accept revenue at the higher original rate of $145 a year for a total of $725, and then also get reimbursed by the developer for our expenses in legal and staff time that we spent to date, which is $3,150. And the developer has agreed to compensate us as well. So CRPD will get notification of the LAFCO public hearing process, and if need be, the district can protest at that time, but staff anticipates that the board's concurrence on this particular item. At the time the annexation is approved by LAFCO, then there will be a future board item which is just a formal process to file a notice of cessation of special tax for the 5 parcels that are in the Measure J area. So that's a summary of what's going on. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Board members? Director Sloan, do you have a question on this? Okay, go ahead.
It says annexation of park and recreation services west of Watt Avenue. I thought Watt Avenue was our boundary. So the other side of Watt Avenue is part of our...
There's 29 acres, a little sliver, and in your packet, there's some diagrams that show
Page 28.
little sliver of area that is just within our boundary, but it's kind of something that probably should have been adjusted at the time that Watt Avenue was realigned.
Oh, I see. This is
So in addition to what Laura is describing, another process would need to take place, because if it gets approved by LAFCO and we go through the entire process, we would have to work with Danielle to redraw the boundaries of the district to not reflect that little sliver on the west side of Watt.
Yeah, so we call the little sliver is 29 acres, right? You said?
That's correct.
29 acres. Not really little.
Well,
It's not,
it is in the scope.
yeah, I know, with the way, and obviously not for anything more than the fact that our boundaries then will move a little bit, line, and population on that will be on that end. So So do I have any other questions for my members? Okay.
Is this south of Jackson?
So this is an information, a presentation, so there is no action to be taken on this one. My understanding is you're presenting it to us and telling us that the staff is working with the city of Sacramento on this project, and if LAFCO were to approve it,
Correct.
then
There's
we
another
would then
process.
have to. Do you see any time frame? Do you have an idea? Is it within, 2 months, 3
Well,
months, 6
they
months?
keep saying next month, and they've been saying that for 2 years now.
Okay,
But
no problem.
I really do think that they are going to be making that formal application in the very near future, and they may even have actually already made it in the last week or so. Last conversation I had with the Sacramento City planner, she was saying anytime now.
So when you say, and so the 5 parcels is in our name?
Currently, it's
Okay.
in ours, but
Good.
there's nothing on
Good,
the property.
nothing.
So we were collecting tax, like she was saying, of $38 a year. So by the time we're spending all of our staff costs and discussing this,
Even just the collection, we're
we've just
paying.
spent the $38 for half an hour's worth of work. So
Okay.
there's a point to which we need to move that along.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Laura. All right, so we are going to move to item E, committee.
I believe we have D4.
Oh, D4, I'm sorry.
That's
Oof.
okay. Item D4 is a staff presentation on the Cordova Recreation and Park District Water Reduction Plan for 2018-19. This is an informative presentation only.
Yes.
No action to be taken by the Board of Directors. And
I'm
I'll turn
waiting
it
for
over
this.
to Superintendent Jerry Dobbs.
All set there, bud? All right. Thank you. Chairperson Inez and the rest of you folks, it's my pleasure to be able to present this water reduction plan to you. This is actually a collaborative effort from our entire staff. Where do we use water here at Cordova? We have water, swimming pools, the ponds, water features, drinking fountains, public facilities such as sinks, restrooms, and definitely irrigation. Let me go back here. Our service providers of water to the district include Golden State Water Company, Cal American, Sac County, but we also have 4 facilities that have well water. Can you name them?
Hagan Park.
Shooting Center.
Shooting Center?
Center.
Dave Roberts?
Dave Roberts is the one
yeah.
we didn't
That's
know,
right.
but,
Definitely.
okay.
So 4 different sources for well
look.
water. Okay.
Can we bottle it?
Oh. All right.
So we got 4 wells, okay.
To kind of give you an idea about the service our water providers give to us, if you look at this little bar chart, it's very simplified. If you can imagine that we have $300, we give $100 to each one of our providers. You see that $81 actually to Cal American is what we actually buy water with. 19% or $19 would actually go towards taxes, fees, and surcharges. If you look at Golden State, $67 actually goes toward actual water purchases. 33% go to taxes, surcharges, and different fees. Wow. And something very similar to Sac County. Okay, kind of give you an idea of how we are operating. Right now, we've had the water off since October, and we still pay water bills. Recently, I had my supervisor, Martine Fonseca, show me a water bill for $250, and that was just the surcharges and the taxes and the fees. Over the next 3 years, the water utility rates will go up 15 to 18%. The district will need to budget an additional $83,000 to $100,000 to keep up with the same level of water usage for this past fiscal year. Go back. Some of our funding areas, we do have sufficient irrigation funds, such as out at Sunridge, and I believe Mather as well. What should we do to conserve water and reduce cost increases? It starts with a strategic water usage plan. This is a very collaborative effort between planning and also with Park Services and administration, and as well as with finance. We all have to work together to go ahead and come up with a strategic water plan. It involves rethinking water usage through landscape design, irrigation system efficiency, community education and outreach, landscape maintenance tactics. Landscape design. And I'm going to invite a good friend of mine up here, Laura Taylor, to kind of help me out on this one.
Okay, so one of the things that's key moving forward is making sure that the parks that we design for the future are as water efficient as possible. Now, the state has mandated that to all users in the state, actually. And so I'm just going to very briefly touch on how, how we have to meet the state requirements. And so going forward, you're going to see that our future parks are going to use a lot less water per acre than the parks in the established areas, okay? So this is a lot of detail, but just real quick, this is a sample shot of the maximum allowable water allowance for Heron Landing Park. And so we had one of these for Cobblestone, we had one of these for Hillside Park. And what it does is the state, we have to go through a calculation to determine what's the maximum allowable water for the whole year. And we have to meet or beat that. And one of the things that's interesting is up in the upper right, you'll see the special landscape area. Okay, so because we are providing a public resource of, active grass areas that people can play on, we're given a little leniency for those areas. So we're allowed to use 20% more water than a commercial or a residential area because of the fact that it's a public resource. But it's only in those areas that are active recreation grasses. So that gives us a little bump from a traditional commercial project. The other thing is that down on the lower left, you see the different plant types. And so what we have to do is we have to be a lot more efficient in the areas outside of those grass residential or grass recreation areas so that we can be sure to hit that water budget. Now, in the lower right, in the case of Heron Landing, we came up with a total water usage, and it was actually about 200,000 gallons less than the budget that the state would have allowed us. And so this is something, it's a target, and it's a pretty hard target to hit. You have to be very careful in your landscape planning. So with that, I'm going to show you the next. Okay, there should be another slide. Okay. So this is an example of the Hillside Park. And so going into the future, you're going to see an approach where you have in the middle of the green is the active recreation grass area. Then to the left, you see that's the drainage basin, and all the lighter green areas is native plants where it uses little or no irrigation. The only irrigation is some drippers to the trees in those areas. And then as you recall, having been to Hillside Park, the slopes are all covered with a no-mow grass that uses less water than regular turf grass. And so you're going to start seeing the perimeters and the non-use areas where people are actively walking on being designed with drought-tolerant ground covers and that kind of thing. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Thank you, Laura. I went ahead and found this aerial shot at Hillside Park. I don't know if you noticed the difference with the perimeter between the plan and what is existing, okay? If you notice that on the perimeter, there are no trees. Irrigation controller. Some people, you may have an irrigation controller at your home. A lot of our controllers have as many as 26 to over 45 stations, irrigation stations. Brian, can you imagine having that many at your home? Okay. This irrigation controller is actually the brains of the outfit. And coupled with that brain to go ahead and monitor our irrigation flow of water, who was wheelchair bound, it actually communicates wirelessly to remotes to a computer or to a laptop or to an Android cell phone that I could park at and tell us if we got a problem out there, too much water is flowing within a particular area, or we got a water leak someplace, or a major shutdown. The master valve, we are starting to put these in. We do not have master valves. A master valve, if you can picture, this is where all your water gets channeled through from a main water line. It could be a 6, could be a 4-inch water line, and then it gets channeled out into several different branch lines. And it makes up, it actually has sort of like a butterfly valve inside, best way I can describe it, to go ahead and channel the water to each different line. Okay, that communicates to the controller, but also what communicates to the controller and master valve are the flow meters. We're starting to see these in our newer parks. We're putting them in our older parks. The flow meters are actually hooked up to go ahead and monitor how fast is the water coming through the line. And we have 2 different types of monitoring systems for irrigation, Maxicom and IQ. IQ will have what is known as smart flow sensors. Smart flow will allow the water to go through that flow meter, and it automatically recognizes what the regular amount of water should be going through that line. Now when it goes up, it registers that information to the master valve. The master valve will shut it off and send a message up to the controller. which will go ahead and automatically switch it to the next station. The other thing we're doing, we are now inspecting and certifying all of our backflow valves. We have about 100 of backflow valves within the district. And we have some that we're going to have to install. And in order to go ahead and be in code compliance. So this is one of the things, these are some of the things that we're doing technologically wise in order for us to go ahead and keep up with our monitoring of the water system. Let's see, there was one picture, this guy right here, Martin. He is able to use his tablet or his Android phone to go ahead and monitor the irrigation systems. He gets a report each morning along with Arnolfo Sanchez, and we have a new employee coming on board who will be able to monitor the same thing for his assigned areas. They'll get a report, where are the malfunctions? And then they can go to those particular parks and go ahead and take care of those malfunctions. The interesting thing about those malfunctions will tell you which one's the worst one to attend to first. The way Martin had to do this before, when I first got here, he had to go from park, turn on the system, station 1, looks good. Go back to the controller, turn on station 2, looks good. Go back to the controller, turn on station 3. At Hagen Park, we have over 100 stations. You can imagine how long it took to do that. All right, there's one evening last year after he had just wired up Riviera East, I'm very proud to say this, I got a call from an emergency response on our Cordova website that said we got a water line broke at Riviera East. Is like a fountain out there. I called Martin. In the past, what he would have to do was go ahead, drop what he was doing, leave home, come back all the way to Riviera East, turn on, go down to the water valve, turn it off, come back, go back home. Sometimes, then we had to pay overtime. That's part of the deal. What he did instead, he sat there in his easy chair, he had his tablet, he showed his daughter, he said, watch this, honey. He turned on the station, or the section that said Riviera East, pressed the button, turned off the water. He said, let's continue watching TV. Community outreach. This is extremely important to our success. I only have one slide here because this is what's on our website. Critical information about park services. If you see a problem out there, give us a call. Go ahead and contact us email-wise, telephone, or even talk to the employee out there in the field. Let us know what the problems are. We did a write-up about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was received so well that we get quite a few calls. People are willing to be partners with us to let us know when there is a problem out there. And I think that's really helped us out quite a bit to have strengthened those ties with our community. Landscape maintenance practices. I'm pretty excited about this because some of these things are something that we just instituted within the past few years. The use of plant growth regulators, charged carbon products, soil aeration, use of leaf and grass mulching blades, balanced slow release fertilizer. This was an experiment that we did up at Michigan State University where I used to work. Look on the left-hand side and look on the right-hand side. Those are the same age shrubs. They're the same type of shrub known as Physocarpus. Common name is known as ninebark. If you notice, the one on the left is taller, less color, leggier, and it looks like it's starting to have some problems with drought. The reason why it was having problems with drought that year, in 2012, Michigan experienced the most severe drought it's ever experienced in about 30 years. Look on the right. Tight growth, deeper color, and if you look at it, it's a lot shinier. That's because with plant growth regulators, what you're doing is shortening the growth of the plant, creating a waxy cuticle, less stomates for evaporation to take place out of the plant material. You're hanging on to the water, what's available. This is at Birch Avenue on the campus. On the left-hand side, you'll see this birch tree, the same age as the one on the right-hand side. Which one do you like better, Rick?
I think I like the one on the right.
All right. If you notice, that was our irrigation system, gator bags. We did not have pop-ups. I had a crew of 4 men that went out with farm tractors and water wagons that would go ahead and water over 2,000 trees on a weekly basis. It didn't matter that that we had water there. What we had, we did not have enough water for those trees. So we lost all those trees on that one side of the street. One of the things we did once we inherited Sunridge Park, it was open to us, we decided it would be good to go ahead and aerate the soil. Why is aeration important? Aeration, if you look at the word aeration, it stands for air, something to do with air. We're taking air down into the soil. Why is that important? We're opening up the soil for oxygen, but also allow water to penetrate down into where the root systems are located. It's extremely important. Over a 3-year process, we put down charged carbon product, and this past spring, this is what it looked like. Of course, that was been about a month ago, and it's ideal conditions. It looks really good. We do feed it, but the nice thing about that, we keep up with the aeration. We aerate all of our lawns and rec fields twice a year. Use of mulching blades. This is Nicholas Fonseca, one of our champions that we had earlier last year, that he's using a mower here, and we like to use mulching blades. Mulching blades, do you all know what a mulching blade is? These are mulching blades. And Nez, you need to get one for your mower, okay? Wow. All right, mulching blades are actually high lift blades. If you notice, they do look like got fingers at the very ends, and they're curved, a little bit more pronounced. They actually create a draft. They bring up the grass clippings and the leaves up into the chopping chamber several times, and then eventually it drops down to the soil, and we create an organic matter. And this is one of the things that we're doing within the district, is go ahead, we're mulching leaves, and we're mulching the grass. It's one of our strategies. It's a long-term strategy. The other thing we're doing, I want to thank you guys for the privilege. It took us about 3 years, but we finally got one of these units. It's a fertilizer spreader and a pesticide chemical spreader. Now, we do put down slow-release fertilizer. The reason we do that is because plants can only take a certain amount of nutrition at one time. And they like to go ahead and store theirs in the refrigerator and bring it out when they need it, a little bit at a time, okay? And that's the way it should be, is a balanced diet. So we put down the slow-release fertilizer using this unit right here, and we're again, we're feeding the plant materials. We're getting air down there, we're getting water down there, and we're hoping to be able to maximize the water usage at that point because of this type of strategy. Now, what will we do toward the end of the year? We will continue to evaluate and reevaluate our strategy to be wise stewards of our resources. This is Don Woodcock. He's the guy we have in charge that's responsible for maintaining the spray parks and also working on the swimming pool. Now, let's see if I don't know if I can do this right or not. I'm trying to get that thing running. I can't. But this is our waterfall feature at Hagan Park. We have that running right now up there at the very top. You got it there, Matt? Thank you. That's Matt. I appreciate you, Matt. Thank you. All right, does a good job. So this is our strategic plan for this year. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to honor them. And if I know the answer, I'll respond. If I don't, I'll look it up.
I have a question.
Thank you. Director Sloan.
So someone actually called from Riviera East Park. Someone called the district and said there was a broken main?
There's a broken line, yes.
Broken line?
Yes.
Is there any way of getting some type of a warning light that shines up on his device that says there's an issue? Or
that's where we're working with the master valves, the flow meters. He can get that warning. He actually has been getting some of those on his cell phone, his Android phone, or on his tablet. It'll vibrate or give him a warning or a buzzer saying we got a problem.
Cool. That's great.
Right now, I'm very proud to say we have Half of our parks are now wired up that way, and we're working also doing our streetscapes that way as well.
I noticed that you had mentioned something of flow meters and backflow valves, you know, that even the older parks are starting to use that. Am I right?
Yes, we have some
Okay.
parks that do not have backflow
Okay.
valves, and because we're required to have them, we have to go ahead and install them.
And the master valves right now are all in the new ones.
Pretty much all of the new ones. When we have a chance, we're starting to put them in some of the older parks. We'll be working on that, I believe, in Lincoln Village here shortly.
And so, you know, this is great. This is really great. I'd love to see what our results are later on. For a while there, I was telling Administrator Larkin that could we use water trucks, go to our wells and put it up and water from it? No, who knows? But the question I have is, would something like this be investment, or could we use Measure J funds to help with some of these master valves to put them into the parks? Or PMRID funds? Because, you know, obviously with the PMRID, it's safe, clean, green.
Exactly.
Right?
That's, I was just going to
And-
state that.
Right.
It's one of the purposes that we could utilize them for.
Right. So this way, staff will be able to hopefully like plan a certain amount every year that they might be able to use to be able to bring in the master valves and update the older established parks.
Yeah, that'll be one
Would
of
that
our
be-
budget strategies. Jerry put together a good plan here, and I kind of look at it three ways. As a long-term, there's a lot of long-term fixes here.
Yeah.
There's also kind of a midterm, like what are we going to do next year and the following couple of years after that. And then today, you know, currently, how are we addressing it today?
For water efficiency.
Thank you.
Yes, Director Lineback?
In the,
Water, just the first 5.
not the active spaces, you know, the active
Correct.
spaces have to stay green, otherwise they're not useful, but, you know, where you might want to put
That the only option.
the short term, letting them go a little brown, is that part?
Also, notice I missed this portion of it, but I'm working with Martine to go ahead and identify areas within the district, such as along the Morrison Creek Bike Trail, instead of just allowing that being irrigated, to let it go. After spring rains, to let it go all natural. We have some ditches behind Stone Creek Park that has been heavily irrigated. I said, no more. We'll keep the soccer field, and we'll keep the ball fields green and main picnic areas. So we're in the process of identifying certain areas where we can go ahead and reduce water or just turn it off.
With that too, we're going to be incorporating a community outreach program to make sure that people aren't, you know, surprised by that. We're going to do a water-wise type of campaign that educates the public about our need to conserve water, even though we're maybe not technically in a drought. The water costs are through the roof, like everyone is aware in their residence. So just like that, you multiply your residents times our need for water. So we're going to have a campaign that will kick off just to have that public education out there. So when the aesthetics change of our existing way of how it's looking now, they'll have some understanding as to why. And I think that's really important for us to get ahead of instead of react to. So.
And if I heard you right, Matt, you said something about 250,000 of our expense in water is surcharges and fees? And is this state mandate? I mean, obviously, somewhere along the line, the increase has been allowed by changes in government legislation. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and if you look at your own personal individual water bill, yeah, it's the same thing. If you look at it, it breaks it down. There's surcharges, there's infrastructure charges, there's all kinds of fees that are associated with it. And so, yeah, you multiply that times, 1,000 for our park, and it adds up. So this bar graph shows exactly that. So these red portions are not water use, but just the fixed costs as part of the water bill regardless.
Fees, and those went up, right? I'm
They
presuming,
The total cost of
obviously, the only way that could be a
during the
little-
drought period, because
Yeah.
they weren't getting any money, and I'm sure they have to survive as utility companies, right? But they're not getting money from water usage, so they had to find other ways to keep their infrastructure paid for, and they do it through fees. And yes, they had to go through a process to pass it, but it obviously passed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting.
I would check if you have California American or Golden State in particular, and Sac County will have the same thing, the breakdown of all the different fees.
Yeah.
It is quite interesting to look them up and see what they're actually paying for.
That'll be interesting, yeah. Thank you.
There is also an additional thing where once we have enough data, there may be an opportunity for staff and myself to go to these water purveyors and have possibly our story told to their board of directors. And so we're kind of looking at the story in totality and seeing if there's any way as a public service provider, similar district, that there could be some potential understanding on our end for a potential discount or something.
Yeah.
But I think our story needs to be told as to the impacts this is going to have on our communities as they continue to raise these rates. There is no end in sight, it looks like, in terms of they're raising them. So I think we're about primed right now to share our story with them and maybe ask for some kind of an agreement that there's a cap on it or some kind of relief that we can start budgeting more accurately instead of getting surprised midway through our fiscal years.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? All right, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Garrett. Okay, so we are going to move to item E, which is committee
The
report.
reports, there are none.
Great. And so in F, which is public hearings.
None this time.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the regular calendar.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item G1 on the regular calendar is to authorize the district administrator to execute a construction services agreement with TJR Resources Incorporated in the amount of $195,612 for the construction of the Lincoln Village Community Park Walkway Replacement Project. And I'll turn it over to Manager Taylor.
Hello again, Board of Directors.
Hello.
Okay, so if you remember, in March, there was an item before you to be able to take this project out for formal bid. We had had an earlier estimate of around $150,000, which fell under the informal bid process. But unfortunately, the low bids came back at about $191,000. So we came back and requested permission to put this out to bid in a formal process, which we have done. We opened the bids on April 5th, and we received 8 bids, and those 8 bids are published on our website. The low bidder is TJR Resources Incorporated, and they had a base bid of $191,326, and then an ad alternate of $4,286. The ad alternate will remove a large abandoned concrete slab from a removed restroom. And then properly capping off some utility stubs that fed that facility, which will hopefully be used in the near future for a new restroom. But that's a project that you may see come up in the next budget request. But anyways, so we are recommending that the board award the additive alternate for a total contract of $195,612. Measure J funds were allocated in this current fiscal year under the ADA Pathway Improvements category for $235,537. So there is adequate budget to cover this project. The completion of this project will be one more demonstration to the community that the district is using Measure J funds for high priority safety projects in the PMRID area. And with that, I will ask any questions that you might have, and answer any questions you might have.
Director Danzel?
If this is approved, as I hope it is, but what's the completion date that we're looking at for this?
Well, we are well aware of Party in the Park on July 20th, and my construction inspector promises me it'll be done before the end of June. But, you know, we will have, now that is weather contingent. If it were to rain solid from now till July 20th, we can't make that promise.
Which obviously, the
Not
weather
be
this
the
year,
case.
anything's possible. Last week we were in the 70s.
Right,
and
last
we're in the
year
40s.
it was definitely possible.
Okay. I was just wondering how that was going to look because I was thinking if timing was right, you just do sidewalk opening and Party in the Park all at the same time and not have to.
Right.
So, okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good thought there. Anyone else? Director Lineback.
Yeah, my only concern is not about the project, which I think is fabulous. It's the sentence that says, "It is understood that with respect to that portion of the above sum, which is based upon estimated quantities specified for the general scope of work to be performed herein, that actual payment will be based upon the quantities as measured upon completion and not upon estimated quantities." So my concern is not by change orders or anything of that sort, but that there doesn't seem to be a limit on what the difference between the estimated and the actual could end up being.
Right, and so that bid document included a scaled drawing. There was a mandatory pre-bid walkthrough, so the contractors are required to familiarize themselves with the existing conditions and determine the quantities of the existing asphalt themselves. What could possibly happen is if we were to, for instance, want to add some, depending on, you know, if it was, like, let's say where intersections come together, you might want to add a 45-degree flare that's not there or something. That could add, you know, 4 square feet or something to the total cost, in which case, at the end of the day, we would compensate for the actual amount of asphalt put in. But replacing existing asphalt with new concrete, there will be no quantity changes to that. Any quantity change would be one that we probably requested and approved ahead of time.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? All right, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move the Board of Directors authorize the District Administrator to execute a construction services agreement with TJR Resources Incorporated in the amount of $195,612 for the construction of the Lincoln Village Community Park Walkway Replacement Project.
Moved by Director Sloan,
I will second that.
seconded by Director Lineback. Roll call vote.
Director Lineback?
Aye.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Secretary Danzel?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood?
Aye.
And Chair Reyes?
Aye. Thank you. So the motion carries. So now we're in item G2.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item G2 is to authorize the district administrator to execute the necessary documents to renew the employee health, dental, life, vision, employee assistance program, and long-term disability plans effective July 1st, 2018. And the next 4 items will actually be presented by Manager White.
Thank
Hello.
you. Thank you, Chair Reyes and Board of Directors. This is the exciting part of the board meeting tonight, or at least for me, where I'm going to talk about our benefit plans and discuss it as a total compensation plan that this is a main portion of our total compensation that we provide to our employees of the district. So the first item here is a renewal of our plans that we currently provide. So again, it's health, which includes Kaiser and Western Health Advantage. It's dental, which is Guardian. It's vision, which is VSP through Guardian. And then we also get an EAP plan that's thrown in there for free. And it's a long-term disability plan through Mutual of Omaha. So you may have already heard about this, but plans are continuing to rise in cost. And it was no surprise to me that there are significant increases in premiums. So we are looking to renew our plans as is, but I would like to talk about the analysis and, of course, the fiscal impact. I do want to put on record there is one major typo on the analysis. If you could look at the first bullet under Western Health Advantage, the second sub-bullet, I guess you would call it, that the non-preferred prescription drug decreases from $75 to $50, not $5,075. Thank goodness, because I have Western Health Advantage, and that would be unfortunate for myself and others. So again, that's from 75 to 50, and I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. But so let's talk about what we have currently and what we're hoping to continue. Again, I can't express enough how much our benefits are a key for our retention.
For a 10-minute break, and we will be back. It is currently 7:45.
Districts and other public.
7:55. 8 o'clock at the latest. Okay? Thank you. Depends on. Okay.
Plans with
Okay, so we're back and it's 7:58. Thank you so much. We will continue with item G3.
Thank you, Chair Riz. Item G3 is to authorize the district administrator to allow an annual deposit of $1,500 for a single employee and $3,000 for an employee plus spouse, child, family into a health savings account, HSA, for employees that select a high deductible health plan effective July 1st, 2018.
Hi, thank you. This is something that we have done for the last several years, where we provide a high deductible health plan either through Kaiser or Western Health Advantage. The deductibles continue to go up, and it also is the out-of-pocket max is what is a really large component to consider. So as I've told you, year after year, a high deductible plan is similar to like car insurance, where if you get in an accident, you have to pay, if it costs $3,000, you're going to have to pay maybe that first $500, and your insurance will pay the rest. Well, this is the same. With a high deductible plan, if your deductible is $4,000, you're going to pay everything up to that $4,000 before the insurance kicks in. And that's not a copay. You're not paying like a $30 copay. You're paying the cost of the service, whether it be a scan or an appointment or a treatment or surgery or any type of care other than preventative. And so because this plan, the premiums are considerably less, the district has been contributing either $1,500 a year or $3,000 a year for an employee plus spouse or children or a combination therein. And so we would like to propose the same, because even though there's that extra cost from the district, it's still less than the standard HMO copay plans. Those premiums tend to be just slightly less and make them about equivalent to the copay plans that we already offer. With that, I'd entertain any questions.
Director Lineback has a question.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's just more out of curiosity than anything else, but if somebody doesn't spend all the money in their which one is this the HSA plan? What happens to it?
It rolls over. They keep all of the funds that go into the HSA, so we contribute this, and they can contribute themselves based on what they know that their health needs are. They can, again, use the health savings account for many things, for vision, for dental, As most of us know, when you go to the dentist, although our dental is great, it doesn't cover certain things like implants. It covers only a percentage of major services. So this is a benefit that people really like, especially those who don't go to the doctor very often. They know they can have those funds in that HSA for when they go, or just in case they have a major event occurrence and they have to pay that full deductible amount. So it is a very popular plan with our employees.
So the HSA rolls over.
It
There
rolls
is
over.
no deadline to make. Now,
No
quick
cap.
question. If the employee were to leave our agency, do they take that? Can they take that? I mean, that's
They
theirs
do.
still?
It
Okay.
is their health savings account. The
Good.
only access to that account that we have is to deposit those funds. And so they can take those on. If someone retires with the
Yes.
district, they could use them for premiums, prescriptions, durable medical equipment, all sorts of things. And there's a huge list. And it's put out by the IRS every year of what is acceptable to be used with the HSA. And so, again, people really, they've had LASIK eye surgery, they've used it for glasses, for dental work, and of course they use it for medical deductibles as needed.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I move the Board of Directors authorize the district administrator to allow an annual deposit of $1,500 for a single employee and $3,000 for employee plus spouse, child, family into a health savings account, HSA, for employees that select a high deductible health plan effective July 1, 2018.
Moved by Director Lineback, seconded by Secretary Danzel. Roll call.
Director Lineback?
Aye.
Director Sloan? Secretary Danzel?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood?
Aye.
And Chair Reyes?
Aye. All right, motion carries. We're going to G4.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item G4 is to authorize the district administrator to execute the necessary documents to renew the Flexible Spending Account, FSA, with Total Administrative Services Corporation for eligible employees effective July 1st, 2018.
Okay, so this is something that we implemented very recently, July of 2016. It's a flexible spending account. So this is different than the health savings account. This is eligible for only certain circumstances. For one, you cannot have a high deductible plan. You cannot have both an HSA and an FSA unless you're just using it for child care. FSA is the only type of program where you can use it for child care services, daycare, preschool, that sort of thing. Otherwise, it's only for those individuals with a standard HMO, like a copay plan. And what we do is we offer for employees to contribute their own money out of their paycheck into a flexible spending account for themselves. The district only pays for administrative fees. And the employee is allowed to put in up to a certain amount. There is a cap, which is listed in the analysis, and to use for any types of services they know they're going to need throughout the year. The copays are getting higher. You'll see that hospital copays are up to $650 per day, up to 5 days. That gets to be a little bit expensive for the average employee out of pocket. And so some people do like to utilize this FSA plan to help them supplement dental work they might need to have done, or glasses, or help with their copays. However, unlike the HSA, there is a date where you have to use all but at least $500. And we are very proactive with letting the employee know, okay, it's about time. If you don't use, if you have more than $500 in this account, you're going to probably want to start using it, because otherwise those funds do not roll over for them, and they actually come back to the district, which we have known intent to have. And so this has been a very popular plan. We have right now 9 employees, and I've heard of a few others who are interested. It's nice because you can say, I want to put in $2,000 into an FSA, and starting July 1st, that $2,000 is available for you, and then you pay it over the year. And so we would like to continue this plan. The fees have gone up slightly. So they went up from about $900 to $948. That's administrative fees. We always like to point out that if employees do participate, it does reduce their taxable income. It reduces the taxes that the district pays on employees, so we might have some cost savings. I don't have an actual number, but it is a great benefit, and employees who have it really kind of swear by it, that it helps them manage their health care.
Any questions? Secretary Danzel?
Ms. White, I'm looking at both G3 and G4. We've got, it's on the last one, it says we've got 18 out of 38 employees using the high deductible. And on this one, it says there's currently 18 out of 38 that have an HMO.
Correct.
So that means there's 2 employees that don't have either? Because 18 and 18 is 36, not 38. So my math there is, I'm trying to figure out.
Thank you for catching that. I will double check that. I apologize.
So yeah, I was just, and then there's currently 9 using it. So yeah, I was just trying to figure out where those other 2 were.
Where did they go? I don't know, to be honest, but I will clarify that and make a correction.
I work at a job that I don't take any benefits because of my wife, so maybe that was why I was thinking maybe, somebody has that and they're using their spouses and they're not taking any from the district? Or...
There are definitely several employees who do not take the health benefits from the district. They take the cash in lieu, which is now part of our policy. So even though we're mostly talking about 38 employees at this time, that there are several more who get covered through their spouse and take the cash in lieu, which is actually a good cost savings for the district.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That could be the difference, but I actually don't know.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? I was going to mention that I saw, and I don't know if you mentioned it, but with the FSA, not only can it be used for child care services, but also for qualified adult service. Is this like adult parents or so?
Correct.
That you may have to provide care for?
That's correct.
So that's an interesting...
And it is state and federal tax-free. So when the employee puts the funds in there, it is reducing their taxable income considerably. So they don't even feel it as much as what's been taken out of their check to come cover those costs. So it's a great benefit.
So this is, FSA is a state and federal tax-free?
Yes.
Is also HSA? No.
No, the
So it's
HSA
tax
is only
dollars.
federal free, but not
State.
in California. In California, we are pay state taxes on HSA fees or funds that we contribute.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I move the Board of Directors authorize the District Administrator execute the necessary documents to renew a flex spending account FSA with Total Administrative Services Corporation, TASC, for eligible employees effective July 1st, 2018.
Moved by Vice Chair Yearwood and seconded by
I'll second that.
Director Lineback. Roll call.
Director Lineback?
Aye.
Director Sloan? Aye. Secretary Danzel? Aye. Vice Chair Yearwood?
Aye.
And Chair Reyes?
Aye. Next, G5.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item G5 is to authorize the district administrator to execute the necessary documents to offer Sutter Health Plus as an additional health benefit option.
Okay, so we're bringing to the board a brand new plan option for the employees. And we have such great benefits. Why would we do this? And the reason is that we found out after we already approved our plans last year that Western Health Advantage was no longer, that insurance was no longer going to be accepted by UC Davis Medical Center. And for several of our employees, I think it were 14 in total, half of the employees chose UC Davis as their carrier because of the caliber, because of that hospital served their needs, whatever those needs were. And it was very upsetting to several employees to lose that hospital as their provider. We looked at mid-year, it was effective January 1st, and we looked at potentially bringing on an additional carrier that would cover UC Davis, and everyone was very interested in that. But the premiums went up with UC Davis considerably. There were some plans where the premiums would have gone up to 80%. And so it was going to be unlikely that any employee, and we talked to them about it, that employees would pay that difference of 80%. It would be like going from paying no premiums to now upwards of $700-800 a month to just stay with UC Davis. And so we chose to do continue with Western Health, continue with Kaiser, and they had to move their services to the Mercy system or other systems covered by WHA. But one thing that we discussed was potentially bringing on a new plan that Sutter is providing, as long as it was competitive with what we're currently offering. And several of those particular employees felt like, yes, Sutter would be a comparable facility to UC Davis, and they were really hoping that that was an option that could be made available to them. So we did the analysis. I worked with a broker. The plans, again, we'd provide 3 plans. The high deductible plan that's very similar, a copay HMO plan that's around $25, $30 for a primary care visit, and then a purchase up plan where they'd have to pay the difference to have a lower copay. However, there is one contingency item here. We have to have at least 25% participation from our group, from our members, for us to enter into a contract with Sutter. So if the board allows us to authorize Administrator Larkin to enter into contract, I will reach out to the employees and see how many people will elect the Sutter plan. As of right now, it needs to be at least 9. With the additional employees that we're hiring, it's going to be at least 10 of our employees will have to elect the Sutter plan. So it is possible, if we don't have enough enrollment, high enough enrollment, we won't be able to offer it, but we would like to go forward since we made a commitment that we would try to offer another plan that would serve those people who lost their physicians at UC Davis. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, then I will entertain a motion.
I move the Board of Directors authorize the District Administrator to execute the necessary documents to offer Sutter Health Plus as an additional health benefit option for employees effective July 1, 2018.
Moved by Secretary Danzel, seconded by Director Sloan. All those in favor, roll call vote.
Director Lineback?
Aye.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Secretary Danzel?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood?
Aye.
And Chair Reyes?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, so we are now going to item H.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item H is Board of Directors items. Item H1 is Board member reports. Part A is training. And the first item is regarding the required sexual harassment, employment discrimination, and abusive conduct prevention training, which took place on April 3rd.
So we have Director Yearwood, Director Sloan, Secretary Danzel, and Vice Chair Yearwood that attended. Where shall I start? Director Sloan?
Always valuable training. The facilitator was pleasant. I was sort of hoping we would have more visuals that were I like visuals, and like maybe Matt could put together the show next time. But, I mean, it's always, especially what's going on in the world today, it was very pertinent, and I think it was a good, a lot of people from the audience asked good questions, and so I think everybody learned a lot. So I appreciated the opportunity.
Thank you. Secretary Danzel?
It was informative, and it actually, I hate to say it, it was not bad. It was almost fun. He did make it a little more uplifting than I've had some of those courses before where you just fire me because I don't want to be in this room anymore. But no, he kept it to present day, truly present day, because we talked about things that had happened within that week with employees being fired over certain things, and so it was quite interesting to know that he's not just giving, okay, here's what they say we have to do in 2018. We were keeping it, very, very centralized on to the moment things that were going on. So,
Thank you, Secretary Danzel. Vice Chair Yearwood?
I agree with Director Sloan and Secretary Danzo. It was very informative. And yes, the material is never what you want to go over, but he did keep it so folks were, what's the word I'm looking for, involved. They participated, so it wasn't just people sitting there staring at some slides up on a screen. So, and he went over some new things that were just instituted into law. So it was very helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you. So now we will have the Board B.
Thank you. Item H1, the second part of A, is the CSDA
yes.
Special District Leadership Academy Conference, which was just attended this week by Vice Chair Yearwood.
Vice Chair Yearwood.
Did you get your taxes out?
What was that?
Did you get your taxes out?
My wife does our taxes, so yes. And yes, she did before we left. Yes, I just got back at about 5:40 this evening from the horrible, terrible town of Monterey. So it was very informative. I've learned a lot. I have lots of questions for Andrea, Matt, District Administrator Larkin. I didn't have time to really go through my notes and form a report. Just it was very, you're always just like the anti-harassment training. You're always worried if we're going to make it something that was enjoyable to do, and they did. Our friend Brett Ives was there, so I got to see him, and he presented half of one of the days. So, sorry, Matt, it did come to a grinding halt this morning when we started talking about budget and finance. Sorry, but it was the presenter. If you had been there, people would have been all enthused about budgets and finance and audits, and they would have wanted a whole nother day. But yeah, yes. So.
Thank you, Vice Chair Yearwood. And I believe this is a training that adds on to our movement towards platinum. What was that? Gold.
Yeah, this will move us from the silver to the gold recognition for having
the art show. Now, it's Park in the art, right? That's what it was.
Well, the downstairs show is called In the Park. Title it Park in the Art.
Yes, but it was nice. I had an opportunity to, there were a lot of people and people I knew, and it seemed there was excitement. And I will say, Director Sloan, I really appreciate your being able to represent our park and to be able to participate and show your pictures. It would be so nice if we could have these pictures at our community centers and, buildings around, I think, because they are very nice. And as people were going around, they were like, I was there up with them and they're like, oh, which park? Very well. And I appreciate that. You're pretty much our expert in the arts. So thank you for being there for us.
And this year we have three milestones because coming up will be the Air Force. Not the Air Force. May is turning 100 years old. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have a show dedicated to that, and also
why the park was a feature. It sounded to me that it was more happy birthday to the parks because it highlighted our 60th anniversary, right? And it was very nice to see. And when they called all the artists that came on, it filled pretty much the stairway down. And I was glad that I was able to simply give one message, which was that I did mention, didn't I mention we'd have something in July? Because it was such an impromptu, but I was able to, she said there are special guests here from the park, and so we were able to, artists know Rick Sloan, truly, and I'm glad about that. And Vice Chair Yearwood and myself, we were able to introduce ourselves to the group. And the one thing that I just wanted to make sure they knew was that we were building new parks, beautiful parks, and yet we had beautiful parks all over, and that wherever they lived, if they were a resident in our district, each and every one of those parks are theirs. So I asked them to make it a point to please visit them and use them because they're theirs. And that was, I think, something that they enjoy, they liked. And I think that's one of the things we have to tell them because they're like, what park is this? Where is this? So we have to make them go visit it. And basically, I think that was it. I mean, I was like, okay, it was a birthday to the park, 60 years. That was the main focus. And so I was glad that we were able to be there for you.
I'm going to suggest that they possibly could donate the poster to the district, and Patrick can hang it in his office or put it, somewhere, and we can frame it. Sure. I'll even sign it for you.
Yeah.
Because it's got our logo. It's got the logo in there.
Yeah, I did. I showed them. Unfortunately, Patrick had not. It was not sent to them.
I designed that too. The poster.
That's what I said. It was very nice.
That's Hagen
he
Park.
sent it to
the
us.
The background's Hagen Park.
Yeah, and so yes, that would be very nice.
And the picture of the Aztec dancers in there, and a duck that's in Hagen Park. Also.
Yes, it was a very nice flyer. In fact, when I was telling him about it, he's like, I haven't seen it, so I did have to show it too. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it, and we will then now move on to H2.
Thank you, Chair Reyes.
I said that 3 times. Poor Danielle.
We have actually reached the other exciting part of the meeting this evening. Item H2A is to adopt Resolution 17/18-37 calling for the November 6, 2018 General District Election, consolidation with the statewide election, candidate statement length and costs, notice of election, and publication of notice of election. And bear with me, this is my favorite topic, but I'm also trying to lose my voice, so I'll try to keep it a little brief. And there are many components of this resolution that we're going to have to consider. As you know, we do this every 2 years for the general election, which will be November 6th this year, for the purpose of electing 3 members to the Board of Directors. The first component we need to consider for the resolution is regarding consolidating with the statewide election, and of course we recommend doing that to save costs instead of putting on our own election. As part of the resolution, there is carryover language that was brought to my attention regarding if there happens to be a tie in the election. And so we have several options to deal with that, because obviously if there's only 2 members able to break a tie on the board, that's not a quorum. So we have several options provided by the county for resolving that. One of those is to choose by lot or to choose by the first candidate paperwork filed. Or there's also another option that was presented, language referencing flipping a coin. So the board will have to decide what sort of language to put in there regarding breaking the tie. The county did mention that this isn't too vital to include in the resolution, so it's just something, a tie is a very unusual prospect to have during the election.
Our luck.
But we do want to, provide some kind of language in the resolution, so we'll get to that part.
Thank you.
So thank you for that catch on that. The next item is the candidate statement length. We recommend it's between 200 and 400 words. We recommend 200 words for the voluntary candidate statement. Then regarding candidate statement costs, we need to determine whether the candidate or the district will pay the cost for those voluntary statements. I don't have the schedule of fees in front of me. I'm not sure how much it is this time, but they've ranged upwards of 700, 800 or more for the candidate statements. So that's pretty much why we ask the candidates to pay them instead of taking on that cost. All candidates will have to submit their statements at the elections office. There's no longer the option to pay here at the district office like we used to. Next is the notice of election publication, and we recommend that we combine our notice of election with other special districts to save costs there as well. For the fiscal impact, again, we are provided with a schedule of fees from the county, and they give an invoice to us after the election has been certified. That's when we get the final numbers, but we will have this item included in the preliminary budget for 2018-19. So I'm available to answer any questions.
So I guess the question is basically we're supposed to be able to decide a little bit on candidate statement, correct?
So we can
yes.
decide about the number of words for the candidate statement.
Yes, we've decided that, and I think 200 has been the case, and we haven't had any problems with that, have we? Anyone? Okay. Yes, that's correct. So then that's okay. The other one was the consolidation. There's no doubt about that. We don't want to spend any extra money there. And then I guess the
cost?
Candidate statement, the cost
Do
for
we
that.
want the candidate or the district to pay that cost?
We've always had the candidate pay the cost, and I think that is real important. It will allow the candidate to be able to show the constituents that they are interested in serving and want to know about them, and I don't think it should be a district cost. Thank you. And then, is there anything else that we have to?
In the event of a tie,
tiebreaker.
yeah.
Well, what do you think?
Well, I think it should be very fair to everyone, and so for me, it would be a coin toss or draw straws or something that's completely without any appearance of bias towards a given candidate. That would be my suggestion.
That could be a little, yeah, I think so too, because I don't think I'd like it to have anything that would cause, the ability to either convince or, do this. So what do you think?
Well, the fact that you wouldn't have like the incumbents would be the one that would be chosen.
Well, that's the problem with I was the one that looked at that and said, but there's only going to be 2 seated board members this year because 3 are running. So can 2 board members even decide? But there would also be the appearance that maybe the seated board members might have a particular bent towards, say, the either liking or not liking a particular candidate. And so it's, even if there were 3 who could then make a majority vote, this is the election. It's not the same thing as somebody resigning and having to fill a seat. So I think it should be completely, clean.
And we get a big coin, so everyone can see.
So I'm going to have Danielle review the options that were recommended by the administrator of this election, so.
Yeah, the county elections department said the most common statement is by lot. So the tie will be broken by lot.
What does that mean?
Names in a hat or something?
Oh, names in a hat? That could be, that's about the same. Put the names in a hat, or barrel or can or whatever.
My question is, when does a tie happen? I mean, because...
Never.
That's what I was going to say.
She said if you want to remove the language altogether, you can do that too.
Because
All right.
I've been in that situation before, and I've spent another $36,000 on lawyers and everything on recounts because that's where it comes down to, because
Yeah.
I wanted the county to do their job and make sure that we, got the people's vote, not just, throw a name in a hat and figure it out. So my recommendation would be to pull it.
Okay. Pull it from the verbiage, is that what you're saying? Okay, that's fine, I have no problems. Okay. All right.
So
Do we
we'll
need
pull
a
the
motion?
language from that, and then, with all of those things
It's not an
worked out then, I just need a motion on the overall resolution.
Okay.
I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 17/18-37, calling for the November 6, 2018 General District Election, consolidation with the statewide election, candidate statement length and costs, notice of election, and publication of notice of election, and that the language regarding a tie vote be removed from the document.
Moved by Director Lineback,
Second?
seconded by Secretary Danzel. All those in favor? Roll call vote.
Director Lineback,
Aye.
Director Sloan, Secretary Danzel,
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood,
Aye.
and Chair Reyes.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, you better watch it.
Tennis match?
You better
A
watch
tennis match?
it. Silence, but
Wrestling,
there she goes.
wrestling match? Bowling, how about a bowling match? On the Wii.
I think we
On
removed
the
the
Wii.
language altogether.
Make it a big fundraiser.
All right, so we're going to H2B.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item H2B is to nominate a member of the Board of Directors to be appointed to the California Association for Park and Recreation Indemnity Capri Board of Directors and adopt Resolution 17/18-38, supporting the nomination and service on the board if appointed. So for this case, there are 2 vacancies on the Capri Board. The first opening is to be the CARPD nominee, and that is a 3-year term. The second position is to be appointed by the Capri Board, and that is to fill the remainder of a term, which expires in 2020. So we can only propose one nomination for those positions. So basically, we're deciding, do we want to be the CRPD representative or the Capri representative on the Capri Board? The board meets a minimum of 4 times a year. Travel expenses are reimbursed, and the nominated director must submit a letter of interest.
Okay, so, and there's no conflict? I mean, we do have currently a sitting CARPD board member, am I right? And Director Sloan, and there is no conflict?
No conflict. No conflict for a board member to serve on CRPD and Capri.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, I know for a fact that, we're faced with all these opportunities, and we have our mission to be regional leaders, and we're doing a great job of being out there. For the Capri Board, I believe we can, Terry, you had served on it, and how's the commitment? What do you suggest? It is important for us to be able to see which boards we would benefit from.
I mean, I think the Capri, having a member of this board of directors on the Capri board is valuable to the district. You get a lot of information at those board meetings about upcoming insurance rates, trends, costs. So I myself am not interested. I served on that board for 7 years, but I think it's a valuable position to hold for the district. I think it brings value to the district when a director from this district would sit on, if a director from this district would sit on that board.
Okay. Do we have any directors that would want to sit on the board, the Capri board? Please, Director Danzel?
Yes, ma'am. I would be willing to sit on this board.
Okay.
Can I make a motion to nominate?
Hold on a second.
I'm just curious, you get one or the other position. Do you have a preference, Secretary Danzel?
Capri.
I prefer the Capri.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to nominate, right? So, Director Sloan?
Yeah, I'd like to take this time to nominate my fellow board member and secretary of the board, the Honorable Brian Danzel, to be on the nomination for the Capri Board.
I'll second that. So.
From the state of Missouri.
Motion by Sloan, second by Chair Reyes.
Yes.
Thank you. Director Lineback?
Aye.
Director Sloan?
Aye.
Secretary Danzel?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yearwood?
Aye.
And Chair Reyes?
Aye.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, so now we can go ahead and move on to the next.
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item I-1 is the monthly district-wide progress report for April 2018, and I'll turn it over to Administrator Larkin.
We had another boring month here at CRPD, so I'll just kind of briefly go through some of the highlights. It's very long. Some things to just bring to your attention. The staff are working on the Heron Landing Community Center proposal. We've met with a consultant, and we will be hosting a community outreach meeting to solicit more information on the type of programming that we'd like to put into a building on that site. So those dates will be announced. I believe they're actually in the upcoming calendar. They're upcoming, and they're going to be hosted at Heron Landing Park itself. And it's an opportunity for us to just gather information from the neighborhood, and also we'll be activating surveys and community outreach opportunities at our upcoming events. So that's pretty exciting in order for us to figure out what kind of design we want for that community center. We also had a great meeting with the Rancho Cordova Police Department, the HOT team, the Homeless Outreach Team. They joined us for a meeting and discussed their partnership strategies with us in addressing the homeless issues in our parks. It was a very productive meeting. They gave us some insights and resources, and we shared what we're doing as a strategy. We were invited to attend meetings that they have every Monday. So a partnership is being developed in that direction, and we're very excited about working with them in that. So we hosted a Leadership Rancho Cordova Recreation module for the Chamber of Commerce, and Matt, Laura, Jill did a fantastic job presenting and demonstrating all of the amazing work that we do here at the district. The Cordova Shooting Center request for proposals had no responses. A staff report will be generated for our May 2018 meeting to describe our next steps for that property. And also, we're still obviously working on the Cordova Pool project, and we're looking forward to having consultants present design and plans to the City Council either May 21st or June 5th, depending on the City Council's agenda topics. And what that basically is we've seen an interest from the city in potentially enhancing this project with funding. And so therefore, the consultants will be sharing with them at that time a two-pool concept. And from there, if the city decides to enhance our project in some way, that will give us a trigger to come to this board and give you that design option so we can get through that first phase of the development. So that's pretty exciting. Also, just to note, city staff have joined us at this point for our first consultant meeting with staff. So it's going in a really great direction. We're excited about that. In the clerk of the board, we have hired an amazing person who left early a little bit, Rose, who was here earlier, and she is fantastic. She's going to be a great help in our clerk department, getting us all up to date on all of our processes, and a great help to Danielle. So that's a really great thing that we have her on board with us now.
Long needed, yes.
Yeah. We also have nomination paperwork will be submitted for Director Leinbach to run for election to the RDAOB, the Redevelopment Association of Oversight Board. And all independent special districts in the Sacramento County will receive a ballot in the upcoming months to conduct the election. So good luck to you in that.
Yes, good luck.
We are also, this is a rather complicated thing, but I'm going to try to simplify this as much as possible. Hats off to Matt Goodell. We have been working very closely with our finance team and brokerage firms to come with our pool finance plan. So it was determined that we were going to pursue a credit rating as a part of what the finance plan will look like for the pool project. We decided to activate, when we first got what they said, a range of a B. He does. Also, we have Jose de la Cruz, a police officer from Rancho Cordova Police Department, and a supervisor of the Police Athletic League. He came in and explained the importance of police officers keeping the community safe. So that's a great collaboration that we are working with those, both parents and the PD, to help our kids learn about what they do. We in aquatics are having our swim team ramp up for another great season. Clinics have started with over 100 swimmers for both the Cordettes and the Blue Marlins. In the community barn, the staff is in the process of planning the upcoming spring cleanup day on April 21st. In the senior center, they celebrated St. Patrick's Day, the best day of the year. They had 113 participants, and they had a great band out there and had a good time. We, of course, had our annual 51st annual Hoppin' and Huntin' at Hagen. We had approximately 1,500 attendees, and we had great coverage from Good Day Sacramento, and the event was really well organized and planned, really well in terms of spatial, placing things appropriately so people didn't feel like they were on top of each other, which was really nice. That keeps on being popular with the kids that are involved in that program. In park planning and development, Cordova Community Pool Replacement Program, we're working on the underground utilities and locating the services to accurately record buried utility lines before we start demolition. We have been working with the city of Sacramento, and we are working with them. They have given for us to review in terms of getting us closer to what our fees currently are, to what they find to be more acceptable and in line with where the county would like for their fees to reflect. So we're currently working, Laura and I are working on a strategy to compare those, and then we will re-meet with the county staff most likely in May. Development projects, the staff is working with the city on the ranch, the developer representatives in the city of Rancho Cordova, to review the revised land use plans based on comments from CRPD on their first draft land use plan. CRPD's planning staff met with Douglas 98 developers and representatives to begin planning a 7-acre park. So there's a lot of movement going on right now, which is pretty exciting. Below that is a handout, is a list of our grants and an update on that. I do have a handout that I want to share with you. We are, as you know, we have the great Alyssa, who started with us just 2 weeks ago. So this is her third week. Her first assignment, one of the first assignments, was to activate our Measure J or My Parks Enhancement Fund brand so that we can get them out at the parks when we complete projects. We'll have those signs that come up when the projects are completed, and we'll also have this badge, they call it. And the badge basically will be used for, the badge is this one. The badge will be used for our social media, on images and articles, on yard signs, and in parks to call out and celebrate the impact on our formerly known as. So we'll make the adjustment.
Nice colors, though. Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it'd
So
be-
there's the look. The other, let me see here. I got thrown off track with that one. Okay. So the other part is the Lincoln Village Park course construction started on March 5th. But due to heavy rains they've had prior to the June 30th deadline that we have. We honored the contract and are doing the replastering project at the Lincoln Village Pool. Adams Pool was selected as the bidder, and they're doing a fantastic job, and they're ahead of schedule. And with that, that concludes my report, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy.
The mountain ribbon
Oh,
cutting
yeah.
tomorrow
So
morning?
tomorrow we've worked with Sac Fit Running Club as well as the Rotary Club, and I believe they gave us a check just a little while ago, $10,000. And so the staff did an incredible job in working with the city and working with this group to get that water fountain in prior to their run, which is actually on April 28th. So they want to really acknowledge the district's efforts in getting that done in a very expedited way. And they want to use it as an example of how when we partner together and collaborate together, both private and public agencies, we can really make some things happen. So we do have a ceremony tomorrow. We're going to actually turn it into a ribbon cutting thing, as though it's a water fountain. But they want it to be a story of success and collaboration. So if you're available, we'll be meeting out at the water fountain, which is in Hagan Park at 9 a.m. And I believe you will be having an opportunity to speak about the partnership. I gave you a little speech.
I believe. Yes,
And if you can attend, that's great. So we're happy that we were able to help them, and they're more than thrilled to give us accolades for being able to help them so quickly. So.
And then I noticed on Tuesday, the 24th, you will be again one of the featured guest speakers at the BRECA annual
Yes, so the
meeting.
Board of Directors Special Invitation page is on page 88, I believe. And yes, I will be one of the speakers on a panel for the BRECA annual meeting. And the theme for this year is homelessness and crime and how our agencies address those types of things. So I will be giving an overview of what we're doing in that area of our district at this meeting, and then also what our role is in that topic that is the main topic for the BRECA annual meeting this year.
Okay. Any questions, any comments? Okay, so we've got all the articles and all, and future agenda items. Am I right?
Thank you, Chair Reyes. Item K1 is regarding the regular board meeting on May 16th. And so far on that agenda, we have the park use agreement for the 4th of July celebration. And then we have your calendar for item K2. I did want to mention I wasn't able to quite fit this one on the form for the
Okay.
board invitation page, but I wanted to let you know the board has been invited to the Rosemont Community Association's annual membership meeting, which is on Tuesday, May 8th at 6:30 at Einstein Middle School.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
Just looking at the board calendar, don't we have that retreat at the end of, or not, that conference at the end of May?
The CRPD?
Yes,
We
okay.
do.
I just didn't see it on there. I was like, oh, wait, did I screw that up? Okay,
Yes.
Thank
May
you.
30th through June 1st.
Great, thank you.
All right, so unless we have anything else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Moved by Vice Chair Yearwood.
Second.
Seconded by Director Danzel.